So team, the next session is identity management system. As I promised, first thing what I promised was I will first demonstrate the identity management system as an overview, how it works. Quick demonstration does not mean that I will explain and I will demonstrate everything, right? So I will demonstrate how identity management system works and at least the screenshots, and then after that we will take a look at the presentation part. So here we are starting with it. So we have compute on the left hand side after you log into your trial account, or after you log into your account which is given to you. But that account, yeah, I've shared the screen. You are able to see my screen, right? No. Oh, so sorry, so sorry. Let me start again. Now you should be able to see that. Yeah, thank you so much. So here on the left hand side, you see the menus. Once you log into your trial account, or once you log into the account, here you will see at the bottom, scroll down, okay, and you have identity. So this identity is what we are going to study in this session. Identity, here we have the users and groups and everything. So go to users, but when you click on users, no problem, you'll get rest of the links also. So all the links were here now. The sub menu which were presented there is available now here. So this is the only session where I said you will not be able to create groups if you log in with the URL and user ID and password shared with you, because you are in one tenancy. Everybody is in under one tenant, so you will not be able to create. I'm demonstrating it, and this is the only session where you require a trial account. So I'm demonstrating it so that you get idea about it, right? I'm creating one group. Let's say create group, and look at the options. Quite simple options are there. We have a group name. Let me create the group name as my OCI training, OCI underscore TRNG, and this is my group which I'm creating, and OCI training. Alright, this is the description, nothing else is required, and group is created. So once the group is created, then we can create the users also and put the users under the group. So click on users, and here we create the users. For example, I'm creating a user, username is Sangwan, let's say, and description is nothing but I just keep my own name, and the email ID, I'm creating an email ID with sangwan@allianceit.in. This is my email ID, and confirm mail sangwan at email ID, sangwan SANGWAN at allianceit.in. Now I have added this, and the user is created. Alright, now once the user is created, here we can have the other options also, like view details, recent verification, copy OCID, and delete. When you click on view details, you will see the details of this user. Now these are the details, like every user have different ways of authentication. Like we have concept of API keys, auth token, SMTP credentials, customer secret keys, and groups. Now for example, if I select on group, the user is not a part of any group right now. So here I would like to add this user to the existing group. So here if I select, I have created the group which I just now created in front of you. So I'm going to select that OCI TRNG group. So I add this user to that group. Now this user has a group membership. Here also I can change it by clicking on this triple dot and copy group OCID, or if I use this API keys, I can generate API keys for this user. Means to log in, because a user can log in with the different options. So objective is not to give the complete demonstration of the concept of users here, just to give you an idea. Like if you select edit user, you will be able to select the username and the email ID. So if you see create reset password, you can do that here. Edit user capabilities, you can do that here. There are more actions, and enable multi-factor authentication, that is also possible. So this is the overview, quick overview of the concept of users here. And if you go to the breadcrumb is good for going back and forth. So here we have groups, we have dynamic groups, we have network sources, policies. Policies is one of very important factor where we are going to create different policies. Policies, basically we'll discuss that in this session itself, that how policy is created. And what is a policy? Policy is actually authority to perform an action on a given set of objects, and they are grouped objects. So first you have to select the compartment. If you see here, we have the compartment, and I have created this one TSP demo compartment. To manage the compartment, we see here, we go to the compartment. Don't ask me what is the compartment right now, because that is I will talking about in the theoretical session. So right now, just quick overview of how we work with them. So I'm creating a demo compartment, and compartment can go up to 6 level of hierarchy. Please understand that. So one compartment can be within one another compartment, that compartment can be in another compartment. So there are 6 level of hierarchy to organize the concept of compartment. By definition, compartment is nothing but logical grouping of components or logical grouping of resources on the OCI. So I'm creating a compartment here, OCI underscore CMP1, let's say, right? OCI compartment. So what you should look at from this session, let me tell you, from this demonstration, is identify the screens, not try, because try you will be doing through the lab assignment. Here you need to just identify the screens. Okay, I saw this somewhere. That should be the takeaway from this demonstration. So this 10-minute demonstration is only for that purpose. There is no other purpose. So select the compartment like TSP demo 1. You select the department, and you see I created the compartment under this, so I can see the hierarchy also. So OCI comp 1 is created under TSP demo 1 compartment. We can rename the compartments. So let's go back to the compartment. Yes, Sunil. Because there was one user by default and one user is added just now by me. So when you log in, you will see probably one user is default user when you log in as a super user or the root user, and one user is which I created just now. In your case also, by default, whatever usernames you see, they are created, right? So you can manage those users. So objective here is to understand. Please understand, team. One humble request: don't try with me. Because if you try with me, there will be a lot of problems, because you will not be able to compete with me when I give the demonstration, and when I'm trying something else, you will be somewhere else. So for practice, follow the lab assignment rather than the demonstration. Demonstration is not for trying, demonstration is identifying and getting comfortable with the interface. That should be the objective of this quick demonstration, and I will be giving you quick demonstration every time. But don't try with me, because for trying, let me tell you, let me show you the lab assignment. For trying, you have to open this lab assignment. For example, you have to try, you have exact screenshots and exact steps which you will try. Look at this. Sign into console. You need the following: tenant, username, password. Go to this URL. Sign into the console. Open the support browser. Go to this URL. Enter your tenant name and continue. So exact sequence of steps is given in the lab assignment. So don't try with me. Complete. This is 8-page lab assignment. So you will practice each and everything about the identity management system which is required. So if you try with me, definitely my demonstration is not complete. My demonstration is only to make you aware of the interface, get you well versed with the interface, not to try things with me. So this is the screenshot. For example, managing compartment, group users and policies to control access. Overview. So this is the overview. Sign into the console, go to the menu, click on identity, set compartments. And when you select compartments, you notice that. So you will now identify the lab assignment. Oh, I saw this. Okay, this is what I have to do. This is how I have to do. You see, even the example text is given. Create the compartment with this name. Give the description, give this department description. So follow the lab assignment, not try something which is not complete. So please allow me to proceed the training in a right manner, because that's the best way training can happen. So this is the interface which I just wanted to show you. Alright, so we select compartment, we created the compartments, so we can create the compartment hierarchy. So and then we have groups and dynamic groups and network sources, policies. Now for example, policies. You see the existing policies. There is first you have to select the compartment to create a policy. So therefore from here you select. So why I am demonstrating is you should be able to identify, oh, where this compartment was. Oh, he showed me, he demonstrated that it is given on the left hand side, just to save that time while doing the lab assignment. So these are the existing policies. So click on create policy, and here you type the name, description, and exactly text of the policy which I will show you, which I will explain. So name, description, keep policy current, and type the statement of the policy. Alright, show advanced option. So we will be learning these things, we will be practicing these things, but don't practice with me, because that will definitely create a lot of confusion and problem, because every participant will try to and will not be able to cope up with the speed of my demonstration. Therefore we'll end up having only one session in the entire day. But if you follow this systematic learning, that okay, we saw a quick demo and 15-minute demo, then the session was explained, and then we were given time to practice, and that is the best way to learn. I hope this is fine, team. Shall I move on? Any one person? Yeah? Thank you. So we are on session 6, Identity and Access Management, IAM. The agenda of this session is core identity and access management components, understand resource locations, scope of availability, principles and instance principles, groups and dynamic groups, understand using Compartment Explorer. Now you see here, these terms will not be unknown to you now. That was the objective of that demonstration. Oh, we saw compartment. That connecting with the topic is the objective of that demonstration. Policies, now you see where the policy was and its flexibility in specifying access management. Policy statement syntax, that was not there. So this you will see here. Authentication settings, now you recollect, okay, there were a lot of authentication settings like SMTP, token, and private key concept. So we have different options and we saw them. So let's understand these things now. That was the, so every session will have a quick demonstration or identifying the screenshots and then understanding those things. Identity and access management. IAM is used to control who has access to what OCI resources within a tenant. IAM master definitions are kept in the home region. This is what I told you, that IAM details are stored into home region and they are replicated over the other regions. So changes are made in the home region and they are propagated to other subscribed regions of the tenant. So we don't have region specific IAM. We have identity management system for one home region and they are propagated. Means after that you log into any region and you should be able to, because they are propagated to other regions. Resources for IAM, resource for IAM is an object that you create and use in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. For example, compute, this is a resource. Instance, that is a resource. Block storage volume, that's a resource. VCN is a resource. So we will be creating resources and we will be giving rights on resources through the policies. Every resource created in the OCI has a unique Oracle assigned identifier, and that is called Oracle Cloud ID, OCID. You will be needing that OCID at many places for many requirements to work with the objects, because OCID is something very important to understand, and every object has an OCID. IAM uses traditional identity concept like principals, users, groups, authentication, authorization, and introduces new capability called compartment. And that's how the users are organized into identity and access management IAM. This is what I was trying to explain, that in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure we have that concept, like you are subscribed to US Phoenix region, like that, for example, that is my home region, if you notice that. So the IAM master definitions from this home will be propagated to other regions to which I am subscribed. So if I subscribe to other regions, I don't have to go to IAM user there or to create other separate users for that region. No, they will be propagated to other users. So for every tenant, the definitions are kept into the home region and they are propagated to the other regions to which the user is subscribed. What are principals? Principal is an identity and access management entity that is allowed to interact with OCI resources. Why don't we call them as simple users? Because they may not be the humans, they may be applications. Suresh. Hmm. Propagate. Propagate means replicating, copying. Replication on copy. No, they are not created again. They are simply copied or replicated or redundantly created. Means they are copied to that. Propagation means copied. So, yeah. Yes, they are copied there and they are maintained there. So that does not mean that if you change in home region, that change will not be reflected. You will not, wherever, whatever changes you make, that will be in the home region only. It's not that, like if some like this gives me the impression that you are subscribed to home region is Phoenix and we are working in Ashburn. If we go to identity and access management and if we make changes to the users, does that mean that Ashburn user will have different users or different credentials? No. Bec um, it is cloud service. I'll not call it a regional service. It is cloud service. It's tenant service. Yeah, it is a cloud service. I'll not call it regional service. Regional would have meant that for every region you have to create separate users, which is not true. Yes, yes, yes. So tenant is where Ratnesh, Ratnesh. No. Let me put it once again, Tim. It is very clear that tenant is nothing but a user or a customer. Customer. Let's take my company. My company name is, let's say, XYZ Corporation. XYZ Corporation has subscribed to three different regions, and the home region is Phoenix. So we will create users and credentials and groups in Phoenix region. But if we subscribe to additional user like UK South London or Frankfurt, right? In that case, do I need to create separate users there? No. The same home region users will be propagated there. I don't have to maintain users in different regions even though I have subscribed. So users and groups and IAM objects, all these things are created only in the home region and they are copied to the different regions to which you are subscribed. You means tenant, tenant means the user or the client. And the purpose is, yeah, yeah, yeah. The purpose is when I'm, creating resources in Phoenix region. You noticed that yesterday, not all resources are available in all regions. Do you recollect that? So therefore, there is one resource which is not available in your home region, and you want to create that resource in Ashburn region. What will you do? You need to have an identity in Ashburn region, right? You need to have policies, you have to have permissions, right? So from where those permissions and principles and authentication will come if we don't have replication, if we don't propagate these credentials to the Ashburn region also? Make sense or no? It depends where you want to set up. See, whatever home region you select, whatever region, home region you select, you have rights to switch to different regions for different resources, right? So you may create configure one resource in one region, second resource in second region. So therefore we don't have to have a different IAM definitions in different regions, the same identity and access management. Okay, let me ask you, how many locations you work within Oracle? Do you have every machine have a different user ID or same ID they are taken from Active Directory or they are taken from LDAP? They are taken some central database, right? Credentials. But but applications, you may have different applications at different locations, right? So you access different applications from different locations, but credentials are from the same identity management system, correct or not? This is what the here also that's the same region. Hmm. Okay. Right. As I told you, credentials are available for throughout the cloud to which you have subscribed. I. Hmm. Mhm. Resource will not replicate. Resource will not replicate. Resource will remain there. Only identity will replicate. Only identity. Yes. Access. No. 1 second. Wherever you are working. Wait. When you create a resource in Ashburn, you will be able to access it from Ashburn only. From Ashburn only. Resource will not replicate. Resource will not be accessible. You have to choose your. Hmm. Credential will work. Credentials. See, no, you are logged into Ashburn. You want to access London resource. So you have to switch your region to London resource. You have to switch your region to London. So sitting in Phoenix cannot access London resource. So that is how this region management is. So because once the session is complete, you a lot of doubts will be cleared. Because right now, if this point is clear that that identities are replicated or propagated to other regions, that is more than sufficient. because a lot of things are there coming up. Thank you. Principal. Principal is an identity, IAM entity that is allowed to interact with OCI resources. That is, principals are IAM users and instance principals. So principal basically is a broader name for a user, because that may be a software, that may be a human user. So we have IAM users and groups, which you saw on the interface. So users are persistent identities set up through IAM service to represent individual people or application. When customers sign up for an OCI account, the first IAM user is the default administrator. The default administrator then set up other IAM users and group, and this is the line which I am emphasizing since yesterday. You will not be able to create users and groups because you are not administrator. You are just a user created by administrator in your tenancy. So you will not be able to create this. For this purpose only, I requested you to create trial account for this particular region. User enforces security principles of least privilege. Meaning is by default nothing is allowed. You are not allowed to do anything unless you set up permissions to exclusively give right to do something. So user has no permissions until they are placed in one or more groups. As you noticed, I placed a user in a group, because without putting the user in a group you will not be able to, because policies are implemented at group level. So you create policies. Policies means the rule, means the permission, means the authority, authorization. Group having at least one policy with permission to tenancy or a compartment. A group is what is a group? A group is a collection of users who all need the same type of access to a particular set of resources, and same user can be a member of multiple groups. What are instance principals? Instance principals let instance or applications to make API calls. That's what I told you. It's not the only user make an API call, user interact with the application. It may be one application interact with another application. That is called application programming interface. So instance principals let instances or applications to make API calls against other OCI services, removing the need to configure user credentials or a configuration file. Yeah, Ratnesh. Ratnesh, you asked me something. Permissions are assigned at the compartment level also, tenancy level also. That you will decide. Wait, Ratnesh, because I'm going to discuss all these things in detail. Right now, the definitions are there. So compartment, tenancy, everything, the permission level, policies, you will see the how the policies are given. I'm not discussing the policies yet. So please allow me, because once I complete, after this, definitely I assure that you will have all the things clear, for sure. Sometimes the questions are ahead of the topic. I notice that, and I really like that, because that shows that how interested you are, how enthusiastic you are. That make that kind of. But I have to request you to just kindly wait for some time. Thank you. That is there. That will come. That will come. Now you notice that we saw authentication methods for a user, username and password. So used to sign into the web console. An administrator will provide you with a one-time password when you're setting up your account, and this is what you got in your mail. You got a URL, you got a user ID, you got a password. At first login, you are you are prompted to reset the password, and this is what will be done. Remember, password has to be complex. You have to take note of it, and be careful about the password choosing. Take note of whatever you do, because that will be required daily. Second method is API signing key. We will be working with API signing key in the last session of the training. where we'll be talking about how the keys are used, one application interacting with other application. So it's required when using OCI API in conjunction with the SDK or command line. And we'll have some examples of command line examples also. Key is an RSA key pair in the PEM format, minimum 2048 bits. In OCI console, copy and paste the content of the PEM public key file which you will be working with, and this is something which you'll be daily interacting with. Use the private key with the SDK or your own client to sign your API request. We also have concept of auth tokens. Auth tokens are Oracle generated token strings to authenticate with a third-party API that do not support OCI signature based authentication. Auth token do not expire. Just like when you log in with Google or Gmail with some other application, the auth token is created and that auth token is stored in the Gmail database, and then that never expires. So you don't have to sign in every time. Like if I authenticate with Gmail account to my user, I don't have to authenticate every time. Token is created, token is shared, token is stored, and now you can log in anytime. Though we can set the expiry of the tokens. So that depends on the application. Now the authorization, that means ability to work, permissions. So authorization specifies various actions an authenticated principal can perform. OCI authorization defines specific privileges in policies and associating them with principals. By default, users are not allowed to perform any action. Policies can be attached to only groups, as I said. Policies are not attached to users, they are attached to groups. Policies are comprised of one or more statements that specify what group can access what resource and at what level of access. Again, what group can access what resource and at what level of access. And they are human readable format, like allow group name to verb resource type in tenancy, or allow group name to verb resource type in compartment name, where you can specify conditions also. Policy attachment is policy can be attachment to a compartment or tenancy where you attach it, controls who can then modify it or delete it. So we need to understand the concept of policies in detail, and this slide explains the complete syntax of policy. As I told you, that allow followed by subject, to followed by verb, resource type, in location, where, condition. Now verb, what are the possible verb and what are type of access? We have inspect, read, use and manage. Inspect means ability to list resources. Read means include inspect plus ability to get user specified metadata or actual resource. Use means read plus ability to work with existing resource plus use the resource, in fact vary by resource type. Resource type means in general this verb does not include the ability to create or delete any type of resource. Use does not mean ability to create or delete. Use means use. Manage, actually that means creating and deletion also. Include all permissions for the resources. So these are the possible verb. Resource types. Resource types are, we have like aggregate resource type, all resources. All resources means everything. Database family means all database specific resources like DB system, DB node, DB home databases. Instance family like instances, instance images, volume attachments, console histories and all these things. Same way object family, buckets and object. Virtual network family, VCN, subnet, route tables. Volume family, cluster family, DNS. So these are resource type. In followed by that we can specify the compartment or tenancy or whatever we want specified by the conditions. This makes the concept of policy clear. Let me tell you one thing very clearly, my friends. You will not become an expert of policies in the training. You will start using it, you will start idea, you will be having questions, and then you will get the answers of the questions when you go into production, because then the real need will come. When that need will come, when you try to do something and you get a message that you are not authorized to do this. When you get that kind of message that you are not authorized to do this, that means you are to look for what operation you are doing, on what object you are doing, and what operation you are trying to perform. and then you will look for the corresponding policy. There are hundreds of policies, so we cannot understand, learn each of the policy here in the training. Here we can talk about the broader perspective, broader picture of these policies. And this is what you recollect. This is what I demonstrated: policy with a statement. To create policies in root or specific compartment, this is called attachment. So this is what we did. I created a policy and I specified attach policy statement. So we specify the statement if you recollect. These are some examples, very few examples. Details are given in the URL given at the bottom of the slide. Network admins manage a cloud network. The policy is allow group. Network admins. Network admins is a group which you have created. It's not a user, system defined name. You have to create some group name. To manage virtual network family. This is system defined. This is Oracle term. This is cloud term. Virtual network family in tenancy, not in compartment. You are giving the right to complete tenancy level. Same way, user launch compute instances. So allow group instance launchers. Again, this is user defined name, user defined group. You have to create this group. So allow group instance launchers to manage instance family in compartment, some compartment name ABC. Allow group, some group name, to read app catalog listing in tenancy level in compartment. So you see how policies are created to allow specific permissions to specific groups, and that's when you add users to the group, and that user will be able to do that. Policy attachment, where you attach it, that controls who can modify or delete the policy, and you select that. There can be policies which control who can manage policies in which compartment. You create the policies in root at specific compartment, and if you notice, this is what I selected when I was creating the policy. This is the screenshot which I showed, and that is actually helping me to recollect the demonstration, that you should be able to recollect what I showed to you, and this is where we created the policy. Attachment is nothing but what you select, the group name. You create the policy in a compartment, or then you attach it to the group. When you create a policy, you must attach it to a compartment. Where you attach it controls who can modify or delete it. If you attach a policy to tenancy, that is root compartment, then anyone with access to manage policies in the tenancy can then change or delete the policy. But if you attach a policy to the child compartment, because I told you that there are 6 levels of hierarchy in the compartments, anyone can access to manage the policy in that compartment will be able to change or delete it. You want to create a policy to allow network admins to manage VCN in compartment C. In that case, you can attach it. So allow group network admins to manage virtual network family in compartment C. Or if you want to put it in B or C, both compartment, you want to give it to both compartment. So that also can be done with compartment B:C. Only compartment A admins can modify it where it is created. Only compartment network admin can still manage VCN in compartment C, because we have mentioned that C, right? Similarly, if you want to if you have only 3 compartment A, B and C, you can also do the same thing, tenancy level, like allow group network admins to manage virtual network family in compartment A, B or C. So A:B:C means you are giving the rights to either A or B or compartment C. That's how we attach the policy. Compartment, what is the compartment? As we noticed, it is nothing but a group. So it is a collection of related resources like VCNs, instances, databases, everything that can be accessed only by groups that have been given permissions by an administrator in your organization. Design considerations: each resource belongs to a single compartment, but resources can be connected or shared across compartments. VCN and its subnets can live in different compartments. A compartment can be deleted after creation or removed, but problem is when you want to delete a compartment, you have to remove all the resources from that compartment. A compartment can have sub-compartment that can have up to 6 levels deep. This is what I told you. Most resources can be moved to different compartments after they are created. So we can move the resources after they are created. After creating a compartment, you need to write at least one policy for it. Otherwise, it cannot be accessed except by administrator or users who have permissions in the tenancy. That is another important point. Repeating, after creating a compartment, you need to write at least one policy for it. Otherwise, it cannot be accessed because policies control the compartments. So administrators have complete right. So administrators don't have need permissions for that because they are by default they are owners, so they can do anything. Or users who have permissions to the tenancy, means you have given right at the tenancy level or the root level. Subcompartment inherit access permissions from compartment higher up its tenancy. When you create a policy, you need to specify which compartment to attach it to. This is what I demonstrated. This is what we have been discussing, and I'm sure the concept of this compartment is now clear. Anybody, any question so far? Up to policy. Team, unmute and ask. If you are okay, one or two participants, if unmute and say okay, so far so good, we can continue. Fantastic. Thank you so much. When you sign up for the OCI as a customer, what you get is root compartment. Like default administrator, you get some xyz abc at company.com, gmail.com. That policy is there. Policy for the user group administrators, because by default when you are created, you are the administrator, you are in the group of administrators, and the policy is allow group administrator to manage all resources in tenancy. This is by default, this is attached. This is the policy when you create a user, when you sign up for the OCI. So Oracle sets up a default administrator for the account. Default group administrators cannot be deleted and must always be at least one user in it. Any other user placed in administrator group will have full access to all other resources. Tenancy policy gives administrators group access to all resources. This policy cannot be deleted or changed. Best practice is to create dedicated compartment when you need to isolate resources. That's the best way to handle the concept of managing the resources in the cloud. Some more topics, points on the compartment. Compartments are logical. They are not physical entities. Compartments span across regions and availability domains. They are global for each tenant. That means very clearly that compartment does not mean in one specific region. Compartment will be for entire tenant, for entire regions and availability domains. They are not specific to region. When creating resources in OCI, you physically place them in region, availability domain or fault domain, and logically place them in a compartment. So this is the relationship between logical grouping and physical grouping. So regions are physical distances. Compartment is logical entity. So physical objects can be placed into one logical entity to be called as one compartment. Most resources are created within a compartment, and metering and usage can be done at the compartment level. And this is the 6 levels of hierarchy for a compartment. Tenant is the root, then we have compartment level 1, then child compartment level 2, child compartment level 3, 4, 5, 6. Creating a compartment, you notice I created one for you. I hope you recollect the screenshot now. This is what the objective of that quick demo was. You interface, get aware of the interface. So create compartment in line with project compartment departments in your organization, because that's a good idea. That is actually a good idea to map it to your organization departments or projects. Like I have finance department, so I'll create a finance compartment because I put any object related to finance under that compartment. That is a very good idea to map them. Access to groups is given through policies at a compartment level, and this is what you noticed, that we created policies at the compartment level. So compartment use cases, some scenarios, some situations where you can use compartment. technical department specific compartments, business unit specific compartment for large enterprises, environment specific compartments, customer specific compartments, a use case when product company wants to provide their applications to their customers in OCI, compartment hierarchy within business units. These are all scenarios, situation where you can have compartment created meeting your organization chart. So you can also act as a filter. Compartment can also act as a filter for users who have access to multiple compartments to restrict the view. You can design your compartment structure and hierarchy based on your requirement, like project specific, organization specific, anything that meets some unique kind of need where you think that you can logically group them together, as simple as that. And this provides a logical framework to create and manage resources and who can access these, administer these resources within the compartment. We have under the identity we have Compartment Explorer also, which we saw during the demonstration, quick demo. Most resources created in a compartment can be moved to another compartment. This I already explained. Refer to documentation for list of resources that are movable. Not necessarily all resources can be moved, but there is some impact of movement also. So, but therefore, there you should refer to the documentation. To delete a compartment, all resources in it have to be terminated, and that's again, and this is a repeat now. I told you that if you are planning to delete a compartment, you have to terminate all resources within that compartment. After deletion, the compartment will be listed in the for the duration of audit retention. Like that is another important point. There are some objects, there are some data which have a minimum retention period. So you will not be able to terminate the compartment till that termination period is over, till that audit retention period is over. For example, bucket objects. Even if you delete a bucket object, it has a retention policy of 90, and that is minimum days. So you will be billed for that, even if you are using it, even if you have terminated it. We will understand all these things, duration and audit retention policies for specific objects. So nothing to worry at this point. But point number one here is, it does not mean necessarily that you're trying to terminate a compartment. You can terminate all the resources right now, right here. Not possible, because there might be some objects which have some retention policies. A random string is appended to compartment name to get a cross region view of resources. In your tenancy, it's in compartment. You can go to use menu, governance, and compartments. Like you want to specify, you want to see, just take a look at different compartments. So under use menu, under governance, you can see the compartments. I'll show you just after this quick completion of the session. I'll show you this. So Compartment Explorer, we have done that. We have created the compartment. This we have already done. I hope you are okay with it now. User. User is a person or system that manages or uses the cloud resources in OCI. User administers cloud resources in the OCI and instances that automate cloud administration. Can have one or more credentials. As I said, we can have console password, we can have API signing key, we can have auth token, we can have customer secret key with AWS compatibility, and we can also have SMTP credentials for SMTP delivery. User listing, we have seen that we created users, we saw different users in our case, and we created one user also. User credentials, as I told you, you click on that, change console password. It is used to log into the OCI browser console. It is a text string. Federated user passwords is in identity provider and not in OCI IAM, and that's also allowed. API signing key used along with the CLI or SDK. RSA key pair in PEM format, that also is a repeat. Upload it in console and use it in the client. Used with instance principals, and you will be working with it. We will be needing it because when we'll be creating instances in our next session after the lunch break, we'll be working with it. We'll start the session after the short break for practice and tea break. Auth tokens used with third-party application OCI services that do not support OCI key authentication text strings. And customer secret keys, earlier called AWS compatibility API keys. It is a secret key pair for interoperability with AWS APIs, similar to auth tokens. And we also have the SMTP credentials. These are the possible ways for authentication. Different type of users. Root user is the user who signs up for Oracle Cloud for Tenant. Principals are users or humans as actors or administrators. Instance principals, OCI instances as principals, they use API signing key. No need to store username and password in application. An introduction is provided in next few slides on this type of users. Principals and instance principals. Normal user, principals or people, they are principals. Compute instances that need to work as principals are instance principals. What does it mean when I'm saying compute instances? Because compute instance may be a user for another application. This instance may be interested in interacting with an application which is configured in the cloud. So that is why this compute instance may also be needing authentication. So therefore we call it as instance principal. It is used for automation purpose. Instance principals need to be part of dynamic group only. They are not static group, they are part of dynamic group. Only following services supported for the instance, like principals, compute, block volume, networking, load balancing, object storage, and file storage. Instance principals, more details are given in the link given at the bottom. Compute instance that need to work as principals are instance principals, and they are used for automation. Instance principals need to be part of dynamic group only. It is repeat. Can build custom applications to manage OCI resources within a tenancy. So these custom applications IAC are to be built with OCI SDK, CLI or Terraform, etc. That is out of scope of our training, except for few examples which we will be discussing in that session. Groups. A group is a logical collection of users. OCI privileges assigned through policies to groups. User can be a member of multiple groups. A group can be part of multiple policies. User inherit privileges through policies from the groups they belong to. This is the concept of groups. Dynamic group, a special type of group that contains cloud resources like compute instances. Resources are part of group based on rules used defined in the dynamic group, and membership to the group can change based on the changes to resources or rules. That's the concept of dynamic groups. Instance principals can make API calls to other cloud services using API signing key, and this is what I've been emphasizing on instance principal concept. Users can run command line CLI commands from compute instances like instance principals. Can deploy an SDK based application in a compute instance which automate provisioning. Privileges to dynamic groups are also assigned through policies. User who log in via SSH to the compute instance automatically inherit privileges granted to the compute instance through dynamic groups. More details are available at the link given at the bottom. That's all for this session. I hope you enjoyed it.